With the Advantex subfloor assembly, you can be sure that you're building a reputation on something stronger. And the best builders, well, they may always stand apart, but they never stand alone. So ask yourself, are you bringing your A game?
Pete Yost here for the UnBuild It podcast with my cohorts, Jake Bruton and Steve Basic.
What's a cohort?
I
know it means like
He just said that.
teammate, partner, collaborator. I get it, but cohort.
I don't even know why I chose that word, to tell you the truth.
It's one of the wheat, separating the wheat from the chaff, I guess.
Another inside joke because it was a biblical reference that one of us struggled with. But
No, two of us.
Two of us?
Neither one of us liked it.
Oh, you sandbagged him.
No.
Anyway, water efficiency is on the table. We're going to take a look at this aspect of building performance, and it's kind of
Metaphorical table.
in your mind, Steve, in your mind. Because we come from Missouri and Massachusetts and New Hampshire, all three of which don't really have all that many water problems, at least scarcity.
At least at this moment in history.
But interestingly, some of the places where water is the scarcest, it's the cheapest per volume. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Colorado. You know, the cost of the water is in the capacity, not in the usage. So you go to pull a permit for a new home, and the water portion of that may be, $30,000 to get the hookup for the water. And that, in other words,
They have a name for that cost.
Yeah, they do. Isn't it called the hookup
No
cost?
There's like a formal name that the town. I want to say implied cost. It's not implied, but it begins with I or something.
It's not embedded
It's
cost.
not imposed or nothing like that. There's a name for it.
Well,
Because when we were in New Mexico and stuff, we had those costs in certain communities.
but the crazy thing is we have scarcity of water in some areas of the United States such that we can't develop. And the costs are high, largely for water processing. But it's both an energy and a water issue because to make clean water takes a lot of energy.
They seem to have more questions that don't have answers. But do you think there's any place in the country, and I'm not saying like the top of the Rocky Mountains, but is there any place in the country that it's not feasible to drill a well?
Hold on. Before you answer, for our listeners, we only get together from time to time to record, and I have to note that one of the neighbors has decided to use a grinder outside of our studio. We have no control over that, and a municipality just showed up to do work across the street. So I'm really sorry if there's background noise on this one. Do you think there's any place?
Site.
Yeah, and it's out of our control. We only have a limited time that we can record, so I apologize. Do you think there's places where you can't drill a well, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Like, is there any place that you can think of in the country where it's, reasonable place to build a home that you couldn't drill a well to find water?
Well, the depth of groundwater is incredibly variable, right? I mean, there are places where to get a well, you're well over 200 feet down.
There's places that you're more than 500.
We were at like 780 or something.
No kidding.
To find water in New Mexico.
How do you lift? I would like to see the pump to lift 800 feet of water.
Well, but anyway.
So it's an expensive resource, it's a scarce one, but it's not something that we focus on terribly much, except in, desert areas of the U.S.
Yeah, we turn on the tap and it's there.
So let's walk through a little bit of how do we use it. First of all, we don't use water upright. We just recycle it. This is the question.
Which I always find interesting too, because I could be drinking the same water that George Washington bathed in.
Molecule by molecule.
Did we just find a weird kink that people like the idea of drinking George Washington's bathwater? Patriotic bathwater?
He said recycled.
He did.
It might take 100 years or 200 years or 300 years for it to
depending on where it was dispersed to.
That I drank the same water that.
I wonder what that chance is. I bet it's a lot higher than you think.
Yeah, probably.
given
Well,
how
think
many
about
molecules.
how much water you drink in your lifetime.
Yeah, and how, I mean, 6 times 10 to the 23rd is a mole of water. And how much is that? Like a couple of cups?
Let's move on, because you just created a math equation I don't even care to think about.
Well, and while we're diverging into historical water,
Well, we take it down the z-axis.
one
That's
of
my goal.
one of Jake's dumb moments, as I so eloquently have put him, the thing that comes up that I'm like, how come I never thought about that before? Icebergs are freshwater. We always
That's
forget.
a revelation to you?
I always forget.
Wow.
I
Hey,
always
everybody on the
forget
UnBuild It podcast.
It
Jake
was.
just
You
realized
learned it
here first.
icebergs are fresh water.
You're screaming.
I know. Well, I'm just so
a little loud.
excited because
The listeners will be mad at you
I'm just
again.
so excited about this revelation.
No, but-
Thank you, Jake.
So then they melt, and they don't directly just dilute into seawater. There are causeways, if you will, of fresh water running throughout the oceans that are both the stratus of how it operates.
Where our thoughts differ, because I think they drain into that alien world that's
Okay.
under Antarctica and the giant caves and such. But anyway,
You mean where the operator sits?
Yeah.
So here we're
Sorry.
talking very focused on residential water efficiency.
Hey, we got to fill the time somehow. Let's. Also, I love it that some people
And
like
just for the
when we have a
record, I don't like
conversation.
how you think my thoughts are unfocused. You
Okay.
just made a reference to now. Let's get back to focused. Like my thoughts are.
Well, we had moved to the alien water needs.
Mommy and
Which I
Daddy
don't
are
think had
fighting.
much
I
to-
don't
So
like
if I
it.
don't believe what you believe, then it's unfocused thoughts. Okay, I see where we stand. Move on to your
Again.
focused thoughts.
Mommy and Daddy are fighting.
So we generally, there's a great study that was done by the American Water Works
He's lost.
Association.
His ability to just dump right back into the topic. Sorry.
I don't think all three of us.
Oh, my word. I knew when we picked this topic and I got assigned, it was going to just be an uphill battle.
Please continue.
I'm going to try and get focused.
The American Water Works Association does a report like every 10 years or so called Residential End Uses of Water. And they survey all over the place. And it's a,
This does cause a focused question of, did they ever find that the end uses of water change in 10 years?
yeah, there's actually change in the different uses that people use in homes based on the efficiency of the appliances and water conservation efforts. Yeah, it does change.
All right. I guess I was focusing on, like, the last 10 years, people are still bathing, washing hands, drinking, cooking, gardening, watering.
Yeah, agriculture.
Well, that's a
Water
perfect
their
segue. What we generally measure it in gallons per person per day. What do you think the average water use is for, let's just say, for indoor water? What's
I'm
the
really bad at math, but I'm going to take a guess. 750,000 gallons a day per person.
Oh, per person? No.
It was a joke.
Yeah, I was like, wow, he's doing the country.
Is it 5 gallons a day?
I was
Minimum?
going to say 7.5.
100 gallons per person per day
What?
is the average
Somebody is
consumption.
wasting water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you ain't kidding.
And what do you think it is
I
for
guess
outdoor?
that's.
Another 100. So 200 gallons per person per day is
Holy
the average
cow.
There's
use.
definitely somebody wasting water out there, because I don't use personally 200 gallons of water a day. Unless I guess you're saying, like, when the dishwasher runs,
Yeah, that gets divided over your
divided by
household.
3 or 4.
It's surprisingly high. And the question is, well, how low can you go? And we have a program called WaterSense, which is under the EPA, and it's a lot like Energy Star. And you can build your homes to a WaterSense set of criteria and get labeled with a WaterSense program certification. And we can get down easily to 50 gallons per person per day. And clearly, the outdoor
That's
water
nearly half.
average is driven almost completely by homes in the Southwest, because we are not using 100 gallons per person per day in any of our 3 necks of the woods.
No.
Right. We're probably down at 10 to 20 in that range. So clearly, one of the big things about gallons per person per day is outdoor use is not per person.
So here's a question. When they say households, and I am being serious here, like last night I stayed in a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
how does that get applied to households? Like if I take a shower in a hotel, is it me that's accounting for household use of water? So regardless of where I'm at? Because if I go to, say, Scottsdale, Arizona, and stay for a week on vacation with my family, our water usage might be higher out there, and we change those numbers, especially in vacation spots.
So the survey is done completely on households.
Okay.
There's no commercial use of water, even if it involves hotels.
100 gallons is still shocking to me.
It is. I would have expected like 20 would have been, we use 20 gallons of water. But
Per person per day.
Well, so I don't have the data sheet in front of me here from that report, but I did a lot of work when I was at the NHB Research Center, working with the Office of Water with EPA on water efficiency.
some of this you probably know. How much does a dishwasher use in a typical cycle?
Not that many gallons, less than 10 gallons, I think.
Okay.
I think it's quite a bit less than 10
if you ran
gallons.
a dishwasher twice a day for a family of 4, that's still like a gallon a person.
Well, it's not going to surprise you that by far the leading indoor use is toilets, right?
Yeah.
And then probably bathing
What's
comes
a flush on
second.
a toilet? 5 gallons?
1.7 gallons.
Okay.
It used to be
1.3.
It used to be 2.5 was the standard until about the early 1990s, and that's when they moved down to a 2.0, 2.0, and now we have the Niagara Stealth which uses less than a half gallon per
How
flush.
about that for a marketing ploy? Niagara Stealth toilet.
Yeah.
It's just like I almost want to buy it because it kind of sounds like high performance toilet. The Niagara. I got the. What do you got for a toilet? Oh, I got a Kohler. No, I got the Niagara Stealth.
Google says that we use about 3.5 gallons per dishwasher run, by the way.
3.5.
Okay.
So we've made a lot of progress, but clearly there's some areas of the country where it's a lot more important than others. And so when we talk about the water efficiency of high performance homes, what does that mean? I mean, how much time do you spend when you're building a high performance home on water efficiency?
So it is absolutely ancillary to most of the other conversations.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would be lying if I said that it was a front and center conversation. I would say that a lot of times fixture choices now are a lot easier to find things that are low use. I've yet to have a client bring up water usage to me. So the fixture choices, like it's very difficult to buy a non-low flow toilet now, per se.
Yep.
Impact fees. That's what it was.
Impact. So water is one of the impact fees. Good.
Water is an impact.
Good.
Sorry.
That's okay. So there's that. And then we recently have started having substantially more conversations about line route and distance from water heaters to devices with our plumber. And to our plumber's credit, one of the things that he's done recently is brought on a software called Bluebeam, where he can take the plans. He can take Steve's plans and draw where he wants to go. So now he has the ability to figure it out and draw it and send his guys to the job site with a print saying, this is how we're going to run the lines. And so we're getting a little better efficiency that way, as in the less distance it is from the water heater, the less water gets dumped down the drain while we're waiting on hot.
So part of the study was to take a look at how much is actual water consumption compared to water waste, and, you know, running toilets, distance from the water heater to any of the draws. Those are huge. They can be as much as the impact of one person in a building.
Yeah.
So
in a number of houses, we've actually downsized the water heaters and split from 1 to 2 and put them in different locations in the basement. I mean, you know, one of the houses we're working on now, it's the basement's 3,200 feet, which is 3,200 foot ranch. So, and it's shaped like an L. So one is down one end of the L, the other is down the other end of the L, and services bathrooms and such. The other one services powder room, kitchen, laundry room.
Come to think of it, I was doing work on water efficiency at Building Science Corporation because I remember that Martin Holliday's niece, her last name was LaRue.
This is really getting...
Yeah, she worked with me on this topic. But Betsy had her team up with me, and she was getting her master's in building science out at UCal Berkeley.
Not related to Jim.
No, not related to Jim. I'm so embarrassed I can't remember
No,
first
related
name.
to Martin Holiday. He said that.
No, I know, but Jim LaRue, we
I'm
know
kidding.
that's
Another reference. We can come back to that one. But so my introduction to any concerns for the cost of water or water efficiency east of the Mississippi was I got a phone call from a developer in North Carolina, and he said, I understand you know about residential water efficiency. And I said, well, okay. And he said,
You're like, does it pay? Probably.
well, what he said was, our development that we're working on has been told that we will never get approval because there's not clean water. The reservoir that is there for the development is you're going to be denied because we don't have water to feed the project. And so he said, I need to get the water consumption down. I need to prove to the board that we're going before that I can build houses that use 25% less water. And then I've been told that I will get permits for the number of homes we want to do. So totally driven. He was not going to get to build his houses unless he had a plan for water efficiency.
Imagine that something moves forward in our industry when money is at stake.
But I said, you're going to be surprised at how easy it is to get to 25% reduction in total energy, water usage, because the opportunities are there. The thing that's really interesting to me about all this is that this is all about high performance. You can make a 1.1 gallon toilet, but if it doesn't work, people are going to triple flush it. So, and if you think that people should be using a 1.5 gallon per minute shower head, it better work. And so it's all about the engineering and maintaining performance for people that are looking for the right temperature or the right amount.
So we have all the toilets in our house are the same except for the one in the powder bath. And the powder bath has the big button, little button flush device.
Yep.
And for a while, the larger button, what we would think of as the number 2 button, had an issue where it would stick. And every time we had people over, it would stick. And that bathroom is not the one that people are doing a number 2 in while we have 50 people here.
Yep.
And I was like, everybody that comes to our house is choosing to push the use more water thing. And I don't understand, like, do you have to own the dual flush toilet to want to use the dual flush function?
I don't think it was good marketing. They should have the single flush on top, and then the secondary flush should be somewhere else. Like, you actually have to search for
You have to think about it.
Yeah. But then all you do is get people that just hit the single
Well,
flush.
and in the early 1990s, when we first introduced 1.7, I think it was, gallons per flush, none of them worked because it wasn't engineered.
They sucked.
Remember the one we had at Building Science?
That was a
Air assisted.
yeah.
Like, you flushed it, and it was like a jet just took off.
Well, it was
like,
pressure assisted.
yeah.
Yeah. And what's interesting, the Niagara Stealth,
Like it had an air compressor on it?
Like, you
No,
flushed
when
the
you-
toilet, and it was like it shot.
as the water was filling, it charged the pressure tank. So you
Okay.
use the water pressure
The
to fill
65
a
PSI
bladder,
incoming.
basically, and then that pressure was released with the next flush. But the Stealth is the opposite. As the water drains, it creates a vacuum chamber. And so rather than it being pushed out, it gets pulled out of the bottom of the toilet. And they call it the Stealth because you can do that and you barely hear it flush.
So then I have one more toilet flushing question for you.
Who'd ever known there was this much focus on toilets?
Remember Pete probably remembers them, the very old where the tank was really high up on the wall and you had the pull chain toilet? Did that flush better because of the elevation change in the column then?
So I guess it would be a question that filling that tank now is separate from the water pressure of because that's the whole idea about having a tank, right?
Yeah.
Is that the pressure you develop is not relying upon the pressure of the delivery.
Yeah.
You're
getting that 10 inches of water column in the tank.
Yeah. I don't think, you would think that if they're going to put it up near the ceiling, there must be a reason for that. And it must be the increased head that creates more pressure. I'm not quite sure about that.
So
But-
then,
Well, one thing it does is it allows the toilet to be closer to the wall.
yep.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to take up space for the tank.
But when we look at, for example, the lower flow shower heads, there was a guy at the research center. I'm not going to be able to remember his name, but he worked for an engineering company. He was an engineer who engineered windshield wiper sprayers. And they discovered that if you, it's an oscillating delivery. So they threw the water droplets in an oscillating pattern. So it looks in regular motion that each water droplet is coming out at the same time. It's not. It's an oscillating, so it forms a spiral.
So each one gets full pressure in quick succession.
Yeah, so it's actually a spiral going to that. Well, they took
It's like the Gatling gun of shower heads.
I guess you could say that. Yeah. So that technology was developed for windshield wipers to get better coverage. But then somebody thought, oh, wait a minute. If it does better coverage on a windshield, it would do better coverage on a person. And so some of the most successful low flow shower heads are ones, it's about engineering the water delivery. And if you make the water droplets bigger, they lose heat less quickly. And one of the big problems with low flow shower heads, you make tiny droplets, they cool too fast before they hit the person.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that's interesting is me and Pete travel a lot together. And like almost every morning, like the conversation is, that was a really good shower. They have really good water pressure here.
They have a good shower. I like
water
those shower
efficiency in the showers are like how we judge hotel rooms.
I will testify that I have had breakfast with these two and listened to them talk about how both of them enjoyed their shower.
Like there was, I forget where it was. There was one place we had. It was like laser cutting.
I do remember. I do remember
like,
that.
Man, that was like, I want to stay here again. That was the best shower ever.
Well, when rain heads became popular, I had people asking for them constantly. And I would say, have you showered with one before? And they would go, no. Okay. There is a hotel in our community that you can go and stay in. Go and stay in that hotel because they have them. And then if you still want a rain shower head, and every single time people would come back and go, we don't want it, or it's okay if we have it as long as we have another shower head. So, like if we have a shower head and we have a relaxation shower head.
So I know we probably should leave toilets behind at this point, but
that was a joke.
Was that a pun?
No, I didn't mean it that way. Toto. You know, I've been to their plant in Georgia. They
Out of Africa. Is that Toto? I think it is.
Yeah.
Can't stop the rain.
Rosanna, Hold the Line.
Different Toto?
No,
different Toto.
We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto?
No.
Okay.
You guys are making this really difficult.
Is this about to be a hand finishing?
Yeah, it is, because Toto has rather, the main performance test for whether toilets flush properly or not is called the MAP test. And that's about grams of material.
I thought it was a ping pong or golf ball test or something.
That's just for TV.
Ping pong.
I don't want to get into those details, but Toto uses 12 different performance tests in terms of, toilet flushing. And one of the things that is with the new Toto AWWA toilets is the swirling motion. So the toilet's no longer symmetrical. It's designed to deliver water here and to have the water exit another place. But the other thing is you don't clean their toilets with a brush and abrasives, because those toilets are all hand finished to make sure that they're perfectly smooth. And then you just scrub it with, liquid soap, like you would the rest of the like
the fine china in your home.
You know what I always find amazing about engineering is there's literally handfuls of people that work for companies like Niagara Toto that have dedicated their life thinking to how a toilet works.
About people taking a crap.
And it's like, yeah, we use the toilet, flush it, and say, okay, there it goes, bye. But not realizing how many thousands of engineering hours went into making that happen.
Well, and clearly some have not spent much time engineering them at all.
Yeah.
And they perform horribly, but
especially on the tennis ball test.
On the tennis, we've moved from ping pong balls to tennis balls. Pretty soon, how many
bowling balls
can you flush out of the toilet?
So we've talked about the sending cold water down the drain while we wait for hot water. As we start to wrap up here, let's talk about recirculation.
Of toilets? Sorry.
Let's talk about recirculating so that we can get hot water to the fixtures faster.
Ooh.
Our company has done the Metlin pump that you and I were discussing.
Yep.
Peter, the pump takes so you can do it a couple different ways. The way that we've done whole house recirculation is we put a motion sensor in every room that has hot water requirements. And then that pump ends up being near the water heater, and it sends a signal to the pump. The pump goes, yeah, it looks like the temperature line has fell quite a bit. It's probably time for us to go ahead and recirculate. And it recirculates to the whole house. And it takes the water that's in the line, the hot line that has cooled, and pushes it into the cold line. It's a closed loop system. That water then replaces what's in the water heater.
Yep.
And the reason that it doesn't cost us any water, it just costs us electricity, is because we can't back pressure into the city. So that water has to go somewhere. So it back pressures into the water heater and then forces the hot stuff out.
And the key is a quiet, really powerful pump, water pump, generally a Taco type pump.
You can do the same thing with point of use. You can hide one of those pumps underneath the sink or something like that. And in a retrofit situation, then the challenge is, where do we get the sensor? Where do we get the switch for it? Something like that.
Yeah. So there's going to be under the Pete's Resources all about the WaterSense program, which I'm kind of proud of because we worked really hard to make sure that it was performance-based, not just low-flow shower heads or toilets because people won't use them because they don't work right. It was about delivering performance. An example is the only way you get the efficiency of most of your fixtures is if you're operating at 60 PSI or less. So pressure reducing valves are an important part of making sure that if pressure is greater than that, you're going to be using more water because it's more force.
Yep.
And in Brattleboro, I tested our house at over 100 PSI at certain times of the day.
That's crazy.
Which means that any of your 1/4-inch line copper for ice makers or for your dishwasher, they're only warranted to 70 PSI. So critical that you get the whole WaterSense package under development.
And if you haven't tested the water pressure at your house, you can get, if you're on YouTube, you can see it. I just walked and grabbed it. It is literally just a gauge that screws onto your hose bib.
Absolutely.
And then you can go in and out and adjust it.
But it has a max. So
it does.
That red line, which is critical because that tells you what, it doesn't matter that the pressure is only at 100 once because that's all it'll take to blow out the 1/4-inch lines.
I will tell you, I felt like an absolute genius when I hooked this up at my house and then FaceTimed my iPad with my cell phone and stood my iPad where I could see the gauge. And then I went inside with my phone and adjusted it because I was home alone because I couldn't see them both at the same time. And that was a high point for me. But this is a $12. Any hardware store in the United States probably has. So that 60 point is important.
Yep. And maintaining performance means that even if you're in an area where water is not all that much of an expense, if the cost is zero to you, why wouldn't you go ahead and improve the water efficiency of your home?
Technically, it's a savings.
Yeah.
Should be.
Exactly.
Who's the guy in the Northwest? Gary Klein? Is he the water piping guru?
He's on the West Coast, but it is Gary Klein. Yeah, he's amazing. He's done so much work on particularly the efficiency of hot water systems.
And layout
to one concept.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And probably anything that we talked about could be Gary Klein's research. Anything he's published could be a Pete's resource.
Absolutely.
Earlier you said, how low can you go? Did I tell you that somebody broke into our house and stole all my limbo trophies? I thought, how low can some people go?
So now this is turning into a incredibly bad joke competition between the two of you?
I didn't. Oh, that was a joke?
Thank you, butthead.
Hey, since we're talking about water, what did one ocean say to the other ocean? Nothing. They just waved.
I don't know where this is coming from, but I like it.
I think this is the inner dark place that no one gets to see of Steve that is slowly fighting its way out.
He's almost cute. I
think that's what makes it a dark place, is that it's
That
has a
alien
surprising
inside
end.
me.
The controller that sits at the middle.
Controller.
And we really hope you come back despite our behavior.
This was a really good episode. I learned so much.
Okay. On that note,
There was a lot of,
I'm sorry, I thought we were done.
The ship talking. How's that? I'll change the one letter to keep it clean. There was a lot of ship talking.
Chip
here.
talking? I'm confused.
There was a lot of
Buckethead.
Like, subscribe,
Smash.
5-star review, help other people find the podcast. Questions at the UnBuild It podcast if you have questions or comments for that matter. Thank you for listening today. Gentlemen, have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.